Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back with the final review of Sister Wives season 16. Go ahead and do me a favor as we get started. Hit that like button because this is not going to be your typical review. I don't think. I want to start off by saying that I feel like the bald eagle wanted polygamy. I think he'll say it's because he believed in it, but I say that it's because it was something that his father believed in. I think that he thought if he were to follow in his father's footsteps, that it would help mend some of their broken dynamic, some of their issues. So he married Mary. We were told in the book that she was shy and that she was a timid person, that she was more into Cody than he was into her. So he marries her. Like some relationships, like some marriages, there were some complications because sometimes it gets hard, and it got hard and they didn't get along as much as he would have liked. And rather than fixing those issues, what he decided to do was he decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look into something else. And even though I'm having issues with my first wife, I'm going to go ahead and seek out this next wife, who also happens to be someone that was previously a part of my current wife's family because she was married to her brother. That alone is problematic. So rather than fixing those issues, he introduces the idea of Janelle. He introduced it. Him, not she, but him. It is what he wanted. But the plan didn't work out the way that he thought it would because it did not make things better. Instead, it made things worse. Anybody who was intelligent, who had a little bit of wit to them, would know that that would be a problem, especially because, as I said not too long ago, Mary's brother was married to Janelle. Mary and Janelle at this point were not getting along. He does nothing to fix the problem with his first wife or his second wife. And instead, what he does is he gets the brilliant idea to get yet another wife. So let me not just marry any wife. Let me marry another wife that is cordial and friendly with my first wife. And let me get a wife that has a lot of status because of who her family is and because of who her father, who is currently the head of our church, is. Because even though he's failing at the rest of his other marriages, he's going to make up for it because he's going to introduce this polygamous royalty into his family. You're introducing them into a family where you have wives who are struggling and who are complaining, and their issues are not being heard and or fixed. And then you wonder why there are continued issues, that there is jealousy, that there are all these other things, when really what it boils down to is Cody's inability to lead. And now what he does is he decides, I'm going to go ahead and add yet another wife, which is the bird. Christine, in my opinion, was a class act throughout this episode. The way that she remained calm and even-tempered is a skill that I myself need to learn. What is my takeaway from 3? Let me think. From part 3, my takeaway is that Cody is the king of deflection. He turns everything that he does wrong into something that someone else did. He takes no ownership whatsoever. You fuss and you cuss and you accuse people of doing the very thing that he himself does. He is scum. He's scum. But let's go ahead and get into it. We begin this episode with Christine saying she's left. Same thing we heard in the last episode and the one before that. And that despite now being divorced from the bald eagle, she hopes that at some point he and her could eventually be friends. We know that she no longer feels that way. The moment has passed for her. She says that giving up on the marriage was freeing and that she doesn't regret it. She was at the place where she needed to leave. Meanwhile, Cody supposedly is still in grief mode. I don't know what he's grieving. Can someone please tell me down below what he's grieving? Because I don't know. I really don't know. I don't. Other than loss of money, what is he grieving? Because it's not like he was actively going to see Truly and things of that nature. So what are you grieving? Even though the bird has witnessed firsthand the way that this man treated Mary, the way that he stopped being a husband to her, the way that she wasn't getting any type of loving for over 10 years, she thinks that Christine and her bald eagle could have worked this out. And because they didn't work it out and because Christine left, she's angry. The bird throughout this episode really made Christine's leaving about her. The way she was speaking, you would have thought that she was the one who was married to Christine or she was the one that was dating to Christine. I don't feel like she was in a place where, in my opinion, she deserved to be that upset. She's more upset about it than Janelle, who actually had been with Christine for 27 years and who has built some form of friendship with her. Saying things like, how could Christine give up when she didn't actually try? I mean, are we watching the same show? She tried. She went on a trip that was her anniversary trip and suggested that they bring Nancy along. Who brings a therapist to an anniversary trip that's supposed to be celebratory? She moved to Flagstaff even though she didn't want to. She let the bird come into the family even though she didn't want that either. She tried. Janelle, unlike the bird, has eyes and seems to be the only one who gets it, saying that Christine and the bald eagle tried everything to make it work, but there was no going back, and there wasn't. Bald eagle says that if it wasn't for him, the wives wouldn't even be friends. I really don't think that they were ever friends. I think that it was more so of associate situation. I do think that some of them, Christine and Janelle, are friends now. He wonders how polygamy has paid off for them. Christine no longer believes in polygamy for herself and she'll never do it again. According to Bald Eagle, she barely wanted to do it in the first place. She barely wanted to do it while she was married to him. He says that Christine would tell the public that she didn't just want the man, she wanted the sister wives, but then she would be with him and tell him how much she struggled. That doesn't mean she didn't want the sister wives. That's what she was taught to have. And I think that she wanted the sister wives, but I think she wanted you as the man to show up as the man and not someone who picked favorites. Cody messed up when he started showing favoritism. Now, rather than understanding that, instead, he admits he didn't take it well. And we know he didn't take it well because he's told us the same story about Christine and the things that she said multiple times. He even told Nancy about Christine, saying that when they've already addressed it, so why are you telling us this again in that moment? Cody admits that he reacted in anger when what he should have did was he should have sympathized with her. He realizes now that looking back at it, that wasn't the only thing that he did wrong, that there was also the issue with him, the move back to Utah. We then get clips of Christine saying that she wants to go back to Utah and the family's reactions. And we see Cody and him taking pleasure in wanting to have her shut down. We see Christine say that him sitting here apologizing now wasn't him being stoic. What it was he was being an ass. Cody makes a face as they're showing this clip of that. And he's like, and you see him like, if he could crack his neck right there, he would. It bothered him. And there's something about the way that he did it that really makes me feel like Cody is a tyrant. I feel like Cody is one of those guys who says extremely repulsive things off camera. And he's done it to those ladies time and time again. And that he, in that moment, wanted to blow up. Christine says who in their right mind will want to sit there and have a dysfunctional marriage and be right next to somebody who has a functional one? The bald eagle claims that he didn't even know that Christine wanted to leave until he saw that. Then he changes it up and says, well, he did know that, he heard rumors from the children that she threatened to leave. And there were wives that were saying that she was going to leave. I wish he would say which one, because as he said it, I said, way to turn on each other, ladies. That's what they seem to do. Nobody in this family, adult-wise, to me, is perfect. I think they all had their issues. And I do believe that if Cody felt comfortable enough to talk sugar honey iced tea about his wives to Janelle and to the bird, that he did the same thing with Christine and Mary at times, and they did the same thing with him as well. Christine says that situation led to her really wanting to get the divorce, because when she walked off and she talked with Mary, she had an epiphany, but we'll get to it. She felt like Utah was home and she wanted to go back there. The wives said they did not know that the move to Utah was that important to Christine, and that was her final straw. I don't think that it was her final straw. I think that the whole situation with Isabel was her final straw. I think that helped, though. It was like icing on the cake. Christine saw the marriage that Cody and Mary had, and she said she didn't want that. So when Mary is standing there trying to relate to her and trying to tell her to look at the mountains and remember the angels singing and all those other things, even though Mary was trying to be there in that moment, it kind of backfired. And she looked at Mary and she thought about how Mary has been kind of like pulled along all this time. And she said she didn't want that for herself. So she chose divorce. She said she chose it in that moment where she realized that there was no other choice. The other ladies talk about that moment, saying that they were shocked that was her breaking point. Bird had no idea that it was that bad. Janelle thinks that it's a choice, especially with her labeling them as non-functioning, that was her choice. I don't think it was a choice. I think that Christine, after all those years, to say it was a choice diminishes the struggle that Christine was going through. And it doesn't show just how hurt she was and her children were by that man. And I don't like her choice of words in that moment. Cody says that Christine has been complaining from the time that they moved to Vegas, that for 9 to 10 years, she's complaining about everything. So if she's been complaining for 9 to 10 years, then how later on in the next season are you going to tell us that you were blindsided by this? If it's something that she's been complaining about for 9 to 10 seasons. He says it's been a buildup for years and he's been helping her, but it's a constant burden. You see her as a burden and a nuisance. She needed to go. These people were together for 27 years and look at how he's turned on her and their kids. We get a bunch of clips. What stood out the most to me of clips of Christine and Cody, because that's what majority of this thing was about, was he said, honor the entire family and I will love you. His love for her is contingent upon what she does for him. Cody says that they didn't know each other when they got married. It was a bad match. But in a year after them being together, she lifted the burden. So because she did something for him, then he could love her, which makes me feel like Cody never really loved her. He says he was in love with her for 10 to 12 years. You all tell me what you think. Do you really believe he was in love with her? Because if you're saying that you loved her because she lightened your load, that doesn't really sound like you were in love with her to me. That just seemed like you loved what she did, not who she was. Christine says that their marriage was fine as long as she put herself last, as long as she put everyone else ahead of herself, and she did what the bald eagle wanted. They were okay. He didn't want her to change when she prioritized the family. He wanted her to change once she got sick of being a doormat And that's when their marriage started to break down. Now, she didn't call it a doormat, but that's what it was. She was a doormat. She did and said whatever he wanted to do. She says she started speaking up for herself after she had a conversation with her father, because her father reminded her that she matters too and that it's okay to say no. He saw how unhappy his daughter was and he didn't like it. He said, you need to speak up for yourself. So Christine started having an opinion, and she started going against the bald eagle, and she started doing things that she wasn't, accustomed to doing. She started saying no, and she started doing things without asking for permission. And as a result of her stepping out on her own, it caused a rift, which is one of the reasons why we hear Christine later on say that she was surprised when Robin spoke up for herself, because she didn't know she could do that. Speaking up for herself shifted things. She said it helped her in other ways, but it caused issues with her and Cody. She says that therapy for them showed her that Cody holds grudges longer than she does. And we know that to be the case, because here we are 4 years later, and he's still upset about what has happened since the beginning of the pandemic. Cody says, if someone says that I hold grudges, then they're full of it and they don't know who I am. They really don't know me. Sounds to me like Cody doesn't know Cody, because it's clear after watching you and after seeing this situation that you hold grudges, because none of your kids have done anything that is that detrimental to you that you still aren't talking to them after all this time. The fool then at one point says to Suki that he would prefer if they stopped talking about her. No, you're getting paid to answer questions. Answer them. But Cody gets his way because we go to commercial, and when we come back, Suki's not sitting with him. Suki is coming back to sit down, and he's apologizing to Suki, saying he's sorry. He's angry, but he's not angry at her. Production, y'all got to stop letting him get away with that. Every time that he does that, dock him. Okay? Back to the breakdown of this marriage. Christine said that asking him not to be around anymore was hard for her. But she said that once she knew that they were no longer going to be intimate, that it was time for her to pack up his stuff. Cody says that he didn't say that they weren't going to be intimate ever again. He just said not right now. But Christine already witnessed what that looked like, because you did this very same thing with Mary. You told it to Mary. Cody said he didn't want to be intimate in that moment because he was hearing things from the kids that she wanted to leave him. And he didn't want to talk about that. Instead, he wanted to talk about what he heard from the kids because he didn't want her to leave. But I think he didn't want her to leave because of polygamy. I don't think he didn't want her to leave because he wanted her. I think that Cody wanted to make sure that his kids stay close. I think that much like what he did in the next season, Cody was more concerned about her pursuing child support or something like that than he actually was of Christine leaving. Cody wanted polygamy, in my opinion, for the money, and because it's something that his bird wanted, and because this show was given to them based off of them being a polygamous family. But you all let me know what you think. As a result of her saying stuff to the kids and the wives, he felt betrayed. He said he never ruled out the possibility of it happening in the future. I gotta be honest, because that's what I do, right? In my opinion, I like Christine, but Christine ran her mouth too much. I think that your kids should not be privy to you saying things like, I want to leave your parent. It's not my thing. My parents didn't bring me up like that, to the point where when they got divorced as a kid, I didn't understand it. I did not get it. I never saw any bad interactions with them. Now, when I was younger, of course, my father was, deployed significantly. But when they were together, there was no issues that I saw. They seemed to be affectionate. They seemed to be loving and caring. I didn't see any issues. So when they got divorced, I was shocked. And it wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I figured out some things for myself about what happened, right? Because hindsight is 2020. As an adult, you see certain things. Okay, maybe there was some lack of communication there. Maybe that was an issue. Oh, maybe you shut down. Maybe you're a little too argumentative. There's things that you notice about people when you get older that you may not have noticed when you get younger, right? My son is almost what the world would consider an adult, right? And there are things that have gone down in my relationship with his father that my son will never know from me. It is not his responsibility. He does not need to take that on. I have no desire to turn my son against me or against his father or anything like that. There's no reason to make him privy to that information. Now, when he gets much, much older, if he wants to have some talks about some things and I'm in a place where I'm willing to discuss that with him and I think he can handle certain things, then so be it. But at that younger age, at the age that all these kids are, they don't need to know that. So maybe, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, maybe he did have a reason to be upset with Christine for that. I can understand you being mad at that, but express it to her. Work it out with her. Don't get angry with her and then you take all your anger and frustration out on her by not communicating your issues with her. Instead, you're communicating them to the other wives, which causes problems all the way around. He went as far as calling intimacy to her a duty. He said he tried to work things out. He tried going to counseling, but she never was being held accountable. I think it was the other way around. I think that that's a caca. With everything that we've seen on our screens, most of it was him. You told Nancy when you were in therapy with Mary that you didn't want to hear any negative things about yourself. So it's you. You can't be held accountable if Nancy can't tell you about you. Cody admitted in the book and on national TV that he wasn't attracted to Christine. She found out this information in the book the same time we did. So he's allowed to keep hurting her and she's supposed to be okay with it? No, neither one of them were right. She tried to save their marriage. She put him first for years. She put everyone else before herself. She didn't do anything. She tried to be the dutiful wife. She tried to keep sweet, but in the end, she decided to pick herself. And he's angry about that. But when asked what he wants for Christine, he says that he hopes she has a wonderful relationship, that she's married, and that she's happy. Christine says she's better off now. She's enjoying dating herself. The bird wants her to be happy, and she wants it to get to the point where their family doesn't get smaller, but it gets bigger, and that, Christine can find someone else that she loves and that the family can just get bigger. Well, that did happen. It just didn't include the feathered people because their family has been made bigger with David's family. From what we heard, even in recent interviews, David is very involved with not just Christine's kids, but Janelle's kid as well. And I would think that maybe Leon is included in that number too. Janelle says, it's an adjustment. It feels different. They now have a new group text that does not include Christine, and it still hasn't sunk in that they're now making decisions on the land that do not include Christine. She's happy, though, for Christine because Christine is happier now that she's out. Cody says that he hopes that eventually they can heal and that they can become friends, but right now he's grieving the process. I want to know who told him to say that. This is really quick because that's it. That's all I got for this. It was very, very underwhelming of an episode, and it was a lot of the same old, same old. If there's something that I left out that you want to discuss, feel free to put it down below. Until next time.